Oh, yes. I began to head back to my room, ready for what was going to happen tomorrow. Everything would be decided then.
You cruel, selfish bastard!
So much for losing her rage. A shout, however, interrupted my journey to my room. I froze in place before turning my head towards a door that was barely open a small crack. It was the door leading to the grand hall, Saero's training room. Why was Diana there, though? And who was she yelling at? I peeked inside to see Diana glaring into the darkness with her arms crossed tightly over her chest. As I squinted, trying to see... I'm going to reread this one. I peeked inside to see Diana glaring into the darkness with her arms crossed tightly over her chest. As I squinted, trying to see what she was glaring at, I silently gasped. Saero! Saero was kneeling in the dark before his mistress, his head bowed low in shame. When did he return? More than that, why was he keeping his head down? Was he not successful in his mission?
Where in the 7 planes of hell have you been, Saero?
See, I'm not wrong when I say the 7 hells. Gosh, I just left out the planes part.
My lady,
You left the castle with no notification or warning, and you activated your damn holy magic to deny me the right to summon you to my side. How dare you!
If you would let me...
And now you suddenly waltz back into the castle with a smile on your face as if you had gone out and killed the demon lord himself. Explain yourself!
Staring at Diana, I could see her face burning as red with rage. Her cheeks, however, were glistening as rogue tears ran down them. Saero kept his head down, but continued to plead with Diana.
My lady, I was on a personal quest. I had to retrieve something I believed to be important, and it was incredibly selfish of me to do so. I'm sorry, but I needed to complete this task before we went into battle.
You placed this quest over your duty to me?
Only this once, my lady. It needed to be done immediately, and I greatly apologize for doing so, but I promise my journey bore results.
Do you not realize how worried you made me? I have barely rested these past 3 nights because of you.
I stared at Diana, wide-eyed in shock. She was concerned about him? Saero seemed to be surprised as well, eyes wide and staring at the ground. However, he didn't lift his head, most likely still following a demand previously given to him to keep his head down.
My lady, I'm deeply sorry.
Sorry doesn't make this better. What if you were killed? What if I was killed? You are supposed to be by my side at all times. You broke the vow that you made not only to me, but to my family, that you would stay with me and protect me.
My lady, please!
Enough! I've heard enough!
Diana turned away from Saero, looking to the ground and clenching her eyes shut. More rogue tears ran down her face as she gritted her teeth. Saero finally lifted his face, shocked to see her back instead of her face.
You are dismissed. You are no longer permitted to be in the same room as me until further notice.
My lady.
I said you are dismissed, Saero.
Saero.
You do not have permission to use my...
All of a sudden, Saero lunged forward and wrapped his arms around Diana's arms and chest, hugging her body to his tightly as she released a tearful gasp of surprise. Saero buried his face in her shoulder as Diana stared wide-eyed at the wall ahead of her. Diana froze in his arms as Saero clutched her body to his, locking it against his chest.
Do not send me away from you. I broke my vow, yes, but I did it for a reason. I cannot bear the thought of being separated from you. Not after what I have discovered.
I stared, feeling my heart clench. It was like watching a romantic drama, where the 2 leads were either going to break up or confess their love for each other. The air was tense and full of both anticipation and fear. Diana remained frozen in Saero's arms as he lifted his head and gently relaxed his embrace around her.
Saero, I've brought you something.
You... What?
Diana finally began to move, slowly turning around in Saero's arms to look up at him in confusion. Saero frowned, seeing her tearful and red face, and gently brought a hand up to her cheek. He gingerly wiped the tears from Diana's eyes with the back of his fingers before cupping her face. Diana didn't lean in, but she didn't object to it.
I've brought you something very important. It may not seem important to this war, but it's important to me.
My heart caught itself in my throat. Did he? Saero released Diana's cheek before waving his hand between their faces, black and purple mist forming in the air, shifting into something small. As it finally materialized, Diana gasped, and I silently echoed her in reaction. In the air floated a beautiful golden rose on a dark green thornless stem. It had mostly blossomed. In the air floated a beautiful golden rose on a dark green thornless stem. It had mostly blossomed, showing its beautiful petals and glowing softly in between Saero and Diana. It slowly turned in the air, showing Diana all of its magnificence.
The golden rose. A symbol and proof of my love for you, Saero. I've wanted to retrieve it for you for the longest time, and now I finally have.
Saero.
I love you so much. You have given my life so much meaning, and I have sworn my life to protecting you. Saero, you are the most precious and the most beautiful woman to ever grace the 5 worlds, and being with you every day fills me with such joy. If this is what it takes to prove my love for you, then I will happily give you thousands of golden roses for as long as I have breath. But please, know now that my feelings for you are pure and true.
I felt like crying as I watched the scene unfold. Diana was stunned, streams of rogue tears once again falling down her cheeks as she stared at Saero. The rose slowly lowered to float between their chests, as if it was patiently waiting for something to happen.
You are my everything. My moon, my stars, my world. Please, Saero, do not send me away from you.
Saero, you idiot.
Saero let out a soft chuckle as Diana wiped her eyes with a very, very small smile.
Insult me all you like. I deserve it for leaving your side. However, now that I've proven my love to you, I must know the truth. Do you love me?
Diana looked at Saero as her smile grew ever so slightly. Something about Diana changed as she looked up at him. Her eyes seemed to be lighter and full of joy. My heart melted at the way they looked at each other. Saero watched Diana with curiosity, and Diana gazing at Saero in warm elation. Diana lifted her hand to the rose and gently cupped it underneath its petals, making Saero look down and gasp. In Diana's hands, the rose fully bloomed, revealing its innermost gold, almost white petals. Saero looked back up at Diana, seeing her cry joyful tears, fighting back tears of his own.
I do, Saero. More than you could ever know. I was just...
Saero gently shushed her, cupping her cheek gently and wiping the tears away with his thumb. For the first time, at least from what I had seen, Diana nuzzled into his hand, closing her eyes. She looked so innocent and pure was Saero now. Was this the real Diana?
Whatever fear you had, let it go. I swear to never hurt you and to love you until time stands still.
I stared teary-eyed as Saero gently took the rose from between them and placed it in Diana's hair behind her ear. Diana waited until he finished before reaching up and wrapping her arms around his neck.
I love you too, Saero.
At last Saero wrapped his arms around Diana's waist and pulled her close as they both leaned in and finally kissed. It was a magical sight to behold. Their love echoed in the kiss, making each other almost glow within the room. I felt my cheeks warm in an uncomfortable blush as I watched. Okay, I'm going to leave him alone. If you want to see what happens, you're more than welcome to get the game and play it yourself. You know how to get to this point. Just choose Saero as your trainer and continue to push him towards trying to prove his love and going forward to get the rose. They needed their privacy. Who knew where that kiss was going to anyways? I smiled, joyful for what had happened between them, before I turned on my heel and began to walk towards my room. I finally reached my room and let my body fall onto the bed. I let out a sigh of utter pleasure as I felt the cloud-like bed cradle my body on its surface. I was beyond happy. I had been kidnapped and taken to the demon world by the demon lord. trapped here unless he or I died. Then Sam and I had haunted by a powerful being that had been hell-bent on testing us. This entire week had become a wild roller coaster ride of excitement that I would have never expected. Still, there was joy to be found in adventure, and my curiosity thanked destiny for letting me experience it. Now all I wanted to do was get home and marry the man I loved. Sam finally entered the room at last. I smiled and stood, walking over and wrapping my arms around him.
Hey, you ready to go home?
More than ready. We held each other, locked in silence, and unable to say anything more. We let the situation we had gone through sink in, relieved that we were going to be happy from now on together. All we could do in the moment was hold each other and listen to our synchronized heartbeats. As the thought of tomorrow danced in my head, I began to grow fearful. Was I ready to go into battle? Was Sam? Were any of us, for that matter? We were about to walk into the final clash of a world war. Would we survive? Would I live to remain with Sam and feel his embrace again? Tomorrow brought too many questions to think about, and I became frustrated and scared.